afternoon, everyone. Before we get started, I do want to thank Ms. Thompson and her students for putting this together, and Ms. Drew in the chorus, and all of the veterans that have joined us today. Thank you very much for being here. When I was growing up, I have to confess, I always looked forward to Veterans Day because it was a day off of school, and I never took the time to really think about the day. And that all changed for me when I had a project to do on World War II. And I turned to my grandfather, a World War II veteran, along with his 4 brothers, to hear about how their love of the United States and for the rest and their love of the rest of humanity compelled them to enlist in the Army. And they told me how they put themselves in harm's way to protect those that could not protect themselves. They fought in Iwo Jima, Normandy, as others have fought in Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, and countless other places around the world. Generations upon generations of American men and women have made this same sacrifice. And Veterans Day is a time to remember these people and the sacrifices they've made. And while most of the time we hear about our military being involved in conflicts around the world, it's also important to realize what they do for us at home. And again, I have a personal experience with that after going through Hurricane Andrew as I was about to go into 9th grade, and it was the National Guard that was there first, helping us in our recovery efforts, handing out supplies, and just being there to comfort us. The same way they've done after Hurricane Katrina, after Sandy, and even in other countries around the world, helping them to recover from hurricanes or earthquakes or tsunamis or whatever the case may be. So Mustangs, please remember that Veterans Day is much more than a day off. It's a time for us to recognize the sacrifice and selflessness of the men and women of the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, and National Guard. Make it your goal to thank a veteran for their service. And to all the veterans here in attendance today, I want to thank you not only for your service to our country, but for being outstanding role models for today's youth. Thank you.
holidays were established to recognize and honor the men and women who have worn the uniform of the United States Armed Forces. But Memorial Day, which is observed on the last Monday in May, was originally set aside as a day for remembering and honoring military personnel who died in the service of their country. particularly those who died in battle or as a result of wounds sustained in battle.
While those who died are also remembered on Veterans Day, which is observed on November 11th, Veterans Day is intended to thank and honor all those who served honorably in the military, in wartime or peacetime. In fact, Veterans Day is largely intended to thank living veterans for their service, to acknowledge that their contributions to our national security are appreciated, and to underscore the fact that all those who served, not only those who died, have sacrificed and done their duty.
To ensure the sacrifices of America's fallen heroes are never forgotten, in December 2000, the U.S. Congress passed and the President signed into law the National Moment of Remembrance Act, creating the White House Commission on the National Moment of Remembrance. The Commission's charter is to encourage the people of the United States to give something back to the country, which provides them so much freedom and opportunity by encouraging and coordinating commemorations in the United States of Memorial Day and the National Moment of Remembrance.
The National Moment of Remembrance encourages all Americans to pause wherever they are at 3 p.m. local time on Memorial Day for a minute of silence to remember and honor those who have died in service to the nation.
In 1921, an American soldier, whose name known but to God, was buried on a Virginia hillside overlooking the Potomac River in the city of Washington, D.C. The burial site of this unknown World War I soldier in Arlington National Cemetery symbolized dignity and reverence for America's veterans. Similar ceremonies occurred earlier in England and France, where an unknown soldier of the Great War was buried in each nation's highest place of honor. In England, Westminster Abbey; in France, the Arc de Triomphe.
These memorial gestures all took place on November 11th, giving universal recognition to the celebrated ending of World War I hostilities at 11 a.m. November 11th, 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. The day became known as Armistice Day.
Armistice Day officially received its name in America in 1926 through a congressional resolution. It became a national holiday 12 years later by similar congressional action. If World War I had indeed been the war to end all wars, November 11th might still be called Armistice Day. But in 1939, World War II broke out in Europe and shattered that dream. Of the 16 million Americans who served in the armed forces during World War II, more than 400,000 died.
While Veterans Day is primarily a tribute to America's living veterans and is typically observed more as a celebration than as a somber remembrance, it is always appropriate to include a moment of respect for those who gave their lives for our country. The signing of the World War I armistice took place in a railway coach near the battle zone in France. The bugle sounded ceasefire and the hostilities ended, marking a most significant moment in world history. Although 11 a.m. remains a traditional hour for this type of tribute, a moment of silence is appropriate for any point in the program. Let's please have a moment of silence. Thank you.
This was a poem written by World War I Colonel John McCrae, a surgeon with Canada's 1st Brigade Artillery. It expressed McCrae's grief over the row-on-row of graves of soldiers who had died on Flanders battlefields. Located in a region of western Belgium and northern France, the poem presented a striking image of the bright red flowers blooming among the rows of white crosses and became a rallying cry to all who fought in the First World War. The first printed version of it reportedly was in December 1915 in the British magazine Punch. McCrae's poem had a huge impact on two women, Anna E. Guerin of France and Georgia native Mona Michael, Both worked hard to initiate the sale of artificial poppies to help orphans and others left destitute by the war. By 1920, when Guerin with the others left, with the help of the American Legion, established the first poppy sale in the U.S. The flower was well known as the Allied countries, America, Britain, France, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. As a flower of remembrance, proceeds from that first sale went to the American and French Children's League. The VFW celebrated the 75th anniversary of the Bloody Poppy as its official flower in 1997. While profits from its sales have helped countless veterans and their widowers and orphans over the years, the poppy itself survives as a perpetual tribute to those who have given their lives for the nation's freedom.
In Flanders fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly. Scarce heard amid the guns below, we are the dead short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from falling hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high, if ye break faith with us who die. We shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. Dr. Willie A. Jackson is a proven leader and team builder in both military and education environments. He possesses superior quantitative, analytical, and communication skills and is experienced in formulating and implementing winning strategies. Reared in Gaston County and served 25 years in the Army as an enlisted soldier and commissioned officer. He received his bachelor and master degrees from Troy University and a doctorate of education from North Central University. Dr. Jackson is dedicated to community service and the educational development of the community's children. He's an active member of the Quincy Community Redevelopment Advisory Board, Community and Economic Development Organization, American Legion, Veteran of Foreign Wars, Gaston County Men of Action, Incorporated, and the Havana Kiwanis. He has received numerous awards and recognitions for both military and community service. Most noted are recipient of the 5th Corps Distinguished Leaders, General Douglas MacArthur Leadership Awards, and a graduate of the Elite Commissioner of Education Leadership Academy. Dr. Jackson recently retired from the Gaston County School District after serving as a JROTC instructor, assistant principal, and principal. He's married to the former Ariana Brady of Quincy, Florida, and they have 3 adult children, Shadrach, Monsieur, and Shaniqua, and 3 darling grandchildren, Kobe, Chloe, and Kyron. And now, Dr. Jackson.
Thank you for that introduction, John. Montfort Middle School, it serves me proud. You know, sitting here, I thought about 3 letters, M, and M, standing for Magnificent Montfort Middle Mustangs. I am so pleased to come here and deliver a message for you talking about Veterans Day. Now, I understand that the Magnificent Montfort Middle Mustangs, there are 4 elementary schools that feeds into this school. I hear there is, what is it? W.T. Moore. Do we have any W.T. Moore? Okay. DeSoto Trail. Good. Roberts Elementary. And Gilchrist Bears. Okay. Gilchrist Bears, I do that for a reason. I've grown someone that you may be familiar with. My wife, Miss Aroni here, she's here with me. Miss Aroni, could you stand so the Gilchrist Bears can see you? Okay, in my message, I should be no more about 12 minutes or so. But on Friday, tomorrow, November 11th, our great nation will honor men and women who served and are still serving our armed forces. With that in mind, being a former principal, I still need to propose this essential question for you, especially you 7th graders, because you will have the civics EOC in the spring, and it will help you out somewhere. why does the United States honor Americans who stood for a purpose? So today, I stopped by to explain to you the meaning of Veterans Day and why we honor, and to share one true war story. Therefore, my topic today will be, you must have a purpose and you must stand for something. Starting out with the meaning of Veterans Day. A Veterans Day ceremony is held each year November 11th at Arlington National Cemetery. We remember by the number 11, 11, and 11. That means we celebrate on the 11th month of the year, the 11th day of the month, and the 11th hour of the day. So on November 11th every year, it starts with the wreath laying ceremony. Then it goes into the Memorial Amphitheater, where there are speeches from dignitaries, and then there are parade of colors. And we do this to honor those individuals who have served our nation so faithfully. Now, when we say, why should we honor? That is best articulated by a statement made by our 44th president in his first year as president, President Barack Obama. And he said, in an unbroken line of valor stretching across more than 2 centuries, veterans have charged into harm's way, sometimes making the ultimate sacrifice to protect the freedom that have blessed America. Veterans are our nation's finest citizens. They have shown the height to which Americans can rise when asked and inspired to do so. Therefore, pay tribute. Those was his words. Now, we have the meaning of Veterans Day and why we should honor it. I want to just blink just a little bit for you 7th graders on how Veterans Day and different things go along with your EOC for the civics or EOC. And the first thing I want to talk about is the U.S. Constitution. The U.S. Constitution is one of the most powerful documents ever written, for it has stood for a long time without a lot of changes. Now, 33 amendments has been proposed by Congress, but 6 of those amendments have yet to be ratified simply because the proper number of states. So now when you have a document around that long in such a great nation, but only 33 amendments have been written as in trying to change the law, very important document. And it is led by something called the preamble, which is the introduction. Now, the preamble itself is establish our purposes, and it states that we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, and I'm going to come back to that, promote the enduring welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our prosperity. I'm going to come back to that. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Now, the 2 parts that I was going to come back to, which is the common defense and secure the blessings of liberty. There's no way that can ever happen unless you have a powerful military. And I tell you today, you are living in a country that has the most powerful military in the world, which is the reason why you get all the privileges and rights you have today. Now, that military is made up of 5 major components, and they all have a unique role. There's the United States Army, there's the United States Navy, there's the United States Marines, there's the United States Air Force, and the Coast Guard. Now, when it comes to fighting land wars, that is the Army responsibility. When it comes to controlling the seas and ocean, that is the Navy responsibility. Then when it comes to the Marines have a dual role. They fight both on land and at sea. Then you have the Air Force. The Air Force responsibility is to control the skies and deliver troops by plane or whatever. Then we have our last force, which is the Coast Guard. You don't hear a lot about them, but they have one of the most unique missions. And their unique mission is to control the borders of the United States. They don't fight anywhere else or do anything. They are responsible for our shores, even keeping drug traffickers out. So those are our 5 major departments of our military. Now, each branch have their unique responsibility, and they're critical to each and every one of us. But now I will tell you this here. There's not enough money in the world to pay them for the things they do. So therefore, all they ask is that you support them and say thank you from time to time. Now, I want to share a little something about it because you have to stand for something. These men and women that are military, they are governed by the code of conduct of U.S. fighting men. And it's something that is very severe, strict, and it's hard to follow. But they believe in it. And I'm going to give you, there are 6 of them, the things that they take oath to and live by. It starts off, I am an American fighting man. I serve in the forces which guard my country and our way of life. I am prepared to give my life in their defense. I would never surrender of my own free will if in command. I would never surrender my men while they still have the means to resist. If I am captured, I will continue to resist by all means available. I will make every effort to escape and aid others to escape. I will accept neither parole nor special favors from the enemy. If I become a prisoner of war, I will keep faith in my fellow prisoner. I will give no information or take part in any action which might be harmful to my comrades. If I am senior, I will take command. If not, I will obey the lawful order of those appointed over me and will back them in every way. When questioned, if I become a prisoner of war, I am bound to give only name, service number, rank, and date of birth. I will evade answering further questions to the utmost of my ability. I will make no oral or written statement disloyal to my country, its allies, or harmful to their cause. I will never forget that I'm an American fighting man, responsible for my action and dedicated to the principles which made my country free. I will trust in God and in the United States of America. Now, that's 6 codes. Those codes are not easily followed when you put in a bad situation, sometime inhumane, which leads to my one true war story that I want to talk about. During World War II, the American forces and their allies were occupied in Europe. Their focus was there, while the Japanese was controlling the Pacific. At the time, there was a general by the name of Douglas MacArthur, who was in charge of the Philippines. The Japanese moved so quickly and so fast, they knew that no forces could hold the Philippines because we had too many forces in Europe. At the time, the leaders of the United States said they wanted MacArthur out of the Philippines to make sure his life was spared. MacArthur said he would not leave, told the president twice he wasn't leaving, but somehow they were able to drag him off the island of the Philippines. But he said, I will return. At the time, an individual by the name of Jonathan Wainwright had to become commander of the forces. Just think, taking command of forces that you knew you're going to eventually be overran by the Japanese. To the point he said, we have too many forces, we cannot fight the Japanese, so he went against the 6th code of conduct, and he surrendered one island, hoping that the other generals should be able to withstand. The Japanese said, no, it's unconditional surrender. I want all islands. At the time, he then had to surrender the other islands. Now, there's something called the Bataan Death March that our forces had to go through. They put them on a 100-mile march. And if you fell out of the march, they shot you on the spot. It was about marching 100 miles to the prison concentration camp. Now, these individuals stayed in prison of war for 2.5, 3 years. Now, just as General MacArthur said, I shall return. He returned back, liberated the Philippines and liberated those prisons. At the time, General Wainwright, a frail gentleman, now about 75, 80 pounds, he was not concerned about his health. All he wanted to know was that he had let his country down. He did not live up to the code of conduct. And he wanted to know when was his court-martial. But guess what? They understood the condition that those men and women had, those men had to go through. Not only did they name a post after General Wainwright, which is in Alaska at this time, they gave him the highest medal possible, the Congressional Medal of Honor, because of the number of lives he saved by surrendering those men in the Philippines. So now, I share that with you to go in a conclusion. We honor individuals because of our freedom, but freedom is not free. Men and women pays the ultimate sacrifice. I want to share some war deaths of our different major wars, of Americans who have died in the major wars. Starting out with the Revolutionary War, more than 25,000 Americans died during the Revolutionary War. The Civil War, more than 750,000 Americans died. World War I, more than 116,000 Americans dead. World War II, 405,000 Americans dead. Korea, more than 54,000. Vietnam, more than 58,000. The Gulf War, the war where we had the largest masses of troops since World War II, but we only had 149 dead. Still one too many. And then the current war that we're fighting today, Afghanistan and Iraq, we've lost more than 7,000 Americans. So therefore I say to you, freedom is not free. Montfort Middle School, I tell you this, as an American, you have an obligation to grow up and be productive young citizens. You owe that to the veterans of this country who allow you to come to school every day without anyone harming you. You have an obligation to them. Now, in order to be a productive citizen, it must start off with a quality education. You are now in the classroom with the greatest teachers that can give you that quality education. If you listen to them, therefore, you will do everything the veterans ask you to be. Grow up to be a positive and productive citizen. The magnificent Montfort Middle Mustang, I thank you for inviting me, and I know you'll do well. Thank you.
I am an American. I love my nation and my God,
and I owe a debt to our forefathers and veterans who worked so hard and sacrificed so much to give me the rights and freedoms that mean so much to me. I'm proud to live in a land where anything is possible if I follow my dream and work to make it come true.
For coming today. I want to thank Dr. Jackson for that message for our students. That was really great. I want to thank the veterans out there. I want to thank Mr. Blessing and Miss Wood for introducing us to Mr. Jackson today. I want to thank the audience. I think you guys did really well today. We're going to dismiss now, so make sure you don't leave until your teacher tells you to. Thank you.